What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Big Men on Basketball, presented as always on the Barstool Sportsbook YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jeff Nadu. We are back and better than ever. We are one day closer to Christmas, and we are getting to the nitty gritty. Hope you got out and got all your gifts. I think I'm good to go at this point. We got some hoops to get into. Maybe it'll be some gifts on the hardwood tonight. We got our boy Jim Root here, three-man weave. He's here every Thursday usually. Jim, how you doing? Good to see you. What's happening?
Good. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like the last hurrah before 4 days off. We'll call it days off. There's a couple games out in Hawaii and a game on Christmas in the Big East, but this is really like our last chance to make money before the holidays here.
Yeah. And there's, some other things going on. You got bowl games, you get the NFL, but in college hoops, this is kind of it, as you said. And then kind of that day comes where, at least I look forward to, we get into conference play, right? You start kind of turning the page, on 2022, getting into 2023. And that's where I think things get a lot, I wouldn't say easier, but a little bit more easier to navigate. So I'm excited about that. We already have some conferences that have gotten even already into their conference play. But I got to ask you, I found this card kind of interesting tonight. There are some interesting spots here.
Yeah, I like neutral site games. I'm a fan. I don't like having to calculate how much home court to give. So you give me a couple games out in the islands where teams have both sides have tough travel. There's a neutral game in St. Louis between my alma mater here, go Tigers, in Illinois. So yeah, I was intrigued by this card as well. Hopefully we'll be able to dig out some value.
Absolutely. And as always, thank you for watching. If you're watching the show, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe if you're new around here. If you could share it on Twitter, that's great. Anything you can do to help grow the show. We kind of just get right into it on this show. So let's say we do that. I do want to ask you, last night, right? I have had, and this is something that I found very interesting this year. These spots on paper that look so easy. Right. So, for instance, I made a case yesterday that sometimes when you gamble, especially in college hoops on some of these big prices and things like that, you kind of just do what you do. You go with it. I thought Purdue might score 150 last night due to who they were playing. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, no Edie hurts, but
it's like you should still roll a bot and get to 95 against that team. This is, again, where it seems like when I say in my head, like, this is a spot that I'm always going to be on, always going to play. I mean, Purdue just got nowhere close. I mean, and again, this is what you find, guys, when you're betting late in non-conference play. These teams just don't really care about some of these games.
Yeah, you got to find or try to figure out motivation, and it's really difficult. Last night, Purdue had a run late in the first half. I think it was like 17-0. And it was like, okay, clearly they are demonstrably better than this team. Even without Edie, they're a completely different class. And the second half, they just kind of lollygag through it. Like Iowa did the same thing, really kind of sleptwalk through that. Kentucky with a horrific defensive performance against a terrible offensive team. It's tough, man. I think some of these teams are just ready for the holidays. The favorites aren't as motivated to blow teams out. But I just looking at the numbers yesterday, home teams were 34-34 against the spread. So no, like, take the road team, take the away team. Favorites were 37-35. Like there wasn't a tilt there. It's just tough to kind of guess and choose who's going to be motivated and who's not.
One of the most important things you have to do is when you're not, even if you're doing well, you should always be looking at what's happening. What are things that aren't working well for you? How are you losing? One thing I've noticed, betting totals has not been good to me this year. Unders I've been good with, but these overs I have not been good with. So I think you have to kind of pull the wool back and kind of see what you have going on. But you talk about that spot today, some of those teams that are facing lower-end opponents. For instance, I don't know. I'm just quickly out of the gate. 21.5 seemed like a lot for Harvard against Kansas. I mean, Harvard's not an awful basketball team. You also have a team like Arizona who also, didn't do their normal 90-plus against a non-con team the other night against Montana State, who's a little bit better than some of the opponents they played. But tonight they get the Morgan State, who are they? The
Bears.
Bears. There you go. Out of Baltimore. They're going all the way out to Arizona. That's not easy. So, again, would I be running to play some of these big favorites? Houston had no problem with it. They won by 40, and that remains the best bet in basketball, Houston first half. But I quickly want to talk about, before we get into tonight's card, for a decade probably, I've gotten railed by these Iowa fans, because I don't know basketball, because I don't think Fran McCaffery is a good coach. This is a savior. He brought so much to this program. Keep in mind, way before Fran McCaffery was there, they were still making NCAA tournaments and not winning. Has he made recruiting a little bit better for them? Probably. But he's still a shitty coach. They lost yesterday as 32-point favorites to a group in Eastern Illinois who, look, you should never lose to. But if you're going to lose, like, wouldn't it be like 61-60? You give up 92 points to Eastern Illinois. At what point do we stop, if you're Iowa fans, accepting this continued mediocrity each year after year? You've had 2 National Player of the Years. You've had one of the greatest shooters in the history of the Big Ten over the last couple of seasons, and they don't win anything.
It makes no sense, the postseason success or lack thereof. And I said this on our show yesterday. That situation yesterday where Fran McCaffery is a big home favorite against bad competition, that's been like one of the best bets in basketball. In non-conference play, they were 15-0 the last 4 years as a double-digit favorite at home. It was like just write the bet, cash your ticket later, all good to go. And then yesterday they don't cover by 43. Ridiculously bad performance. They gave up 28 dunks and layups to Eastern Illinois, a terrible offensive team. Just awful. I know they were down a couple guys. That's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. No Chris Murray, no Connor McCaffrey. I give them no credit for that. You have to beat that team by at least 20. At least sleepwalk through it like Purdue did and win by 20. You can't lose that game. That's embarrassing.
There are multiple high school teams in America that would beat Eastern Illinois. Many, quite frankly. Just disgraceful. All right, let's get into today's card. Obviously, want to keep track of times. We've already had a couple of games go final. The only play I actually made today so far was Cornell and Colgate over. I was one of those games. I'm always going to bet over the number. And I didn't see the final, but I saw that it got over, and I didn't really worry about it again. That was the only one I went on. Did you play anything yet this season or today? I mean,
yeah, the bet I gave out on our show was Washington State and George Washington under. I think they're going to play relatively slow out on the island. GW has like no bench. Washington State loves to walk it up. Long travel for both. Big slate in front of them. They play 3 games in 4 days out there. I think that one's going to be slow, hopefully relatively inefficient. We'll see about that part, but I think the tempo is slow enough that I like that under. 136.5 is what I got.
Always nice when you play a game and you see it tick down. It came down a little bit. Let's get into some of these interesting games here. First game, 5 o'clock Eastern. Okay, 5 o'clock Eastern. Okay, under an hour from now. The Bradley Braves are hosting the Akron Zips. Okay, I saw Akron. I was right there in that one of the first games of the season where I got to tell you, I thought they were very good in the first 25 minutes or so of that game against Mississippi State, who we now have seen as undefeated. Let me ask you quickly, is Mississippi State your DePaul, where like they just roll in the non-conference against a lot of bad teams, and then they get into SEC play and they end up, just being dreadful?
Yeah, it's possible. They did drop one to Drake just recently, that ugly game. I think a good comp for them is last year's Iowa State team, like kind of a jumble of parts, really good defensive team though, run through their non-conference slate, and then that team went, I think, 7-11 in the Big 12 last year. Still made the tournament, Sweet 16, but I think they're going to see a little bit more struggles come conference play rather than this like unorthodox, really hyper-athletic defensive team in the non-con that's hard to prepare for, frankly.
And we see a lot of these teams, whether it's Akron, whether it's, South Dakota State, whoever, a lot of the time they're going to schedule very difficult, right? And that's what John Gross did. I mean, we've seen them play West Kentucky, Mississippi State, LSU, Marshall, who's a top 80 team. Recently, though, the schedule has gotten a lot softer, and they're taking care of business, okay? I know I've heard you guys mention, I think it was Kai mentioned, he doesn't like Castaneda. I don't mind him. I like some of the kids they brought in. Trendon Hankerson from Northern Illinois, good shooter. Sammy Hunter from Ole Miss. And I like Enrique Freeman. I think he had, when I saw him up close, I thought he had pro type of moves. He's got to get a little bigger, obviously. But something just told me this was too many points. I would have put this number at like 3.5, 3.
Yeah, and it's super low total too. So like the value of your points are very.
This is like first to 60 wins, I think. Yeah. And if you're going to give me that, and to me, I mean, let me ask you truly, Jim. Okay, if you had to ask, if I asked you, Tell me who you truly believe is the better team.
Man, fully
I'm
healthy,
saying Akron.
I think it's Bradley, but like you said, it's a low scoring, kind of a grinding game. Usually I just lean towards the points in that. You mentioned Castaneda. He's been awesome this year. I don't want to throw too much shade on him, Akron's point guard. I had a negative association of anybody associated with the South Florida like offensive stink of the last 3 years. But he's been great for Akron. Freeman's fantastic, former walk-on, kind of a fun story there. But yeah, I mean, this game I made 5.5. So like I didn't end up playing it either way, but I don't feel super strongly about my Akron number. I was on them in a game where they were up 26 at half and then only ended up winning by 13. So they blew it. So maybe I'm like bitter and angry at them right now. That could be part of it.
Yeah, and they've had some of those games where they were up big and blew it. You kind of mentioned that. By the way, Freeman, the son of a cop, his mother is a cop in Akron, I believe. He has nearly a 4.0 from what the coach told me. And get this, Jim, this is a little nugget, okay? When I was at the Barstool Invitational, there was this guy, okay, he was sitting at the practice, an older guy, African-American gentleman. He was sitting on the bench, looked like one of those old school, just great hoopers, right? And I found out he was the second all-time leading scorer in Akron basketball history, played in the NBA, this guy Len Paul, right? And he kind of just told me how he just loved the kid, Freeman. And we talked about kind of the difference in his NBA and college compared to the one today. And they just kind of raved about the kid, Freeman. I love the kid. I think he's terrific. I think he's truly the best player on the court in this game. To me, 5's too many. I leaned taking the Zips here. I think they're a pretty strong basketball team.
I buy that. They're better as an underdog too. Like they're just scrappy. Look what they did to UCLA in the tournament last year.
Mm-hmm. And also, I continue to where I think one of the concerns with Bradley is the continued turnover issues. I mean, this group is real bad holding on to the basketball. I mean, they're bottom 15 in America, I believe, in turnover percentage. Not good. A lot of unforced stuff too. You look at non-steal percentage; it's pretty high. Just not something I'm looking to run into. Also, weather. What's the weather in that? I mean, isn't there a lot of snow in that area?
It's coming down. I'm in Chicago, so I'm north of Peoria, but travel's not going to be fun. I'm not sure exactly when they got in, but I know they're going to be nervous about getting out and getting back to Akron because it's just going to keep coming all night. So maybe that is a tick for Bradley because Akron is distracted by that. I don't know. The fact that they're there on time, usually if travel is affected getting to the game, that's when I sort of am concerned about it. But I would think they'll be fine.
I have noticed a lot of these teams, do bus to a lot of these games. So I don't know how far Akron is from Bradley. Do you know offhand?
My guess is it's like a 6-hour bus ride would be my guess.
You bus in 6 hours? I mean, would they do
certainly
that?
Not private jetting. I don't know if the Zips got a private jet there.
No, they definitely don't. But when I was talking with Toledo's coach, he told me that a lot of the time they'll fly, go commercial, whatever. But I don't. Either way, I think it's too many. I had it at 3.5. Is there enough to really get involved here? I lean it, but it was just kind of an interesting game. I thought up front. This is an interesting one. Boise State, Santa Clara, right? Boise laying 2, total 140.5 at Barstool Sportsbook. Typical coach speak from Leon Rice, though some of it was kind of funny. We see this. We don't know if he's going to play. It's up to him, right? Again, doesn't really help us as gamblers. We just have to kind of figure out whether we think he's going to play or not. I like Boise, but their problem remains, can they score effectively? They're great on defense, though, and they haven't lost since November 17th. They have kind of been bullet on, have some good wins, too. Beat Colorado, beat Texas A&M, beat St. Louis. I was really impressed with their performance against St. Louis, just a nails defensive performance. But without Shaver, they're not the same basketball team to me. A lot of sharp money looks like is coming in on Santa Clara here. This number's come down a little bit. Again, it's strength against strength. Santa Clara kind of that up-tempo, kind of good, fun team to watch on offense, have some real scores there. They're going to run into a really tough team here. I kind of liken this game a little bit to a game in which Santa Clara played earlier this year against UCF. It was a 57-50 matchup. I remember vividly in that game, the first 10 minutes were up and down. It was crazy. And then they just stopped scoring. 140.5 seemed a bit high for me. I got to tell you. I think Santa Clara is a good offensive team, but this is a great defensive team in the Boise State Broncos. For me, I feel like Boise's just going to take this game to a screeching halt. 140.5 seemed high to me. I'd have put this more at like 135, 134.
Yeah, as like a general rule, I mean, this is obviously there's no 100% type of gambling fail-safe silver bullet here, but when there's like a slow team versus a fast team, I tend to think the slow team's going to be able to control the tempo. It's just easier to slow down than it is to force someone to run fast and speed them up. And Boise State's so well coached that I think they'll be pretty disciplined in keeping it slow. So I'm with you. I think the under has some edge there. I did take Santa Clara at 3 because of the Shaver concern. If he's in there, I'm guessing he's probably not even full strength. Like he played against St. Louis, but wasn't himself. So we'll see if he's fully healthy or not. But I think it's still maybe worth a little bit on Santa Clara if he's out. Like if you catch it before game time and he's out and you can get Santa Clara +2 or even plus money on the money line, I think that might be worth it.
And again, we don't really know what they are without him because the level of competition they played without him, Eastern Oregon, New Orleans, and Oakland. You have a non-D1 team and 2 teams in the 300. So not a lot there. The fact that they won those games, who cares? This is a much tougher game. To me, I just feel like this game is probably played in the low to mid 60s, and maybe one team gets to 70, but I thought 140.5 was a bit high to me here. And as you said, I always try to lend to the team that is slower tempoed, is going to kind of grind this to halt. And that's what UCF was able to do in that game.
If Shaver's out, under has a lot of value because he's like their creator guy. Yep.
I'm just going to bang on the fact that even if he plays, he's not going to be in there for 35 minutes. Yep. This is an interesting one. Creighton and Butler. We see a Big East game. I had some interest in Butler. I was just kind of thinking, well, I feel like they're kind of down as far as I feel like odds makers don't give them totally a ton of credit. I think they're much better with Thad Matta as coach. I think Bates could be a problem for them. I mean, he's been a problem for a lot of teams. And how ready to go is Kalkbrenner? He comes back. Creighton ain't going to lose 7 in a row. I think I want to say it might have been you guys. I don't know who it was, but I know Creighton's got DePaul on down the road at some point. I think that's a good place to back them. This is tough, though, because Butler's always scrappy. But, the problem with Butler that I always feel like we have is there's always some sort of injury with this team. Somebody's sick. Somebody's injured. I feel like they always have someone out, whether it's Chuck Harris or Miles Tate or whoever. They're not real deep either, which is concerning. I get a feeling Creighton finally has one of those games where they just bury a team. So do you think Butler can hang? I kind of felt like this was more like Creighton died double digits, but they have not been good at all.
Yeah, gut was okay. It's probably get right game for Creighton with Kalkbrenner getting healthy and then back home after like kind of the murderous travel to the islands and home to the Vegas and back, or to the Vegas, to Sin City and back, etc. But I don't know how strong Kalkbrenner is going to be coming off mono. That's a tough recovery. And I really respect Butler. Like if you told me preseason Butler versus Creighton, I would have assumed I was going to be betting Butler. I'm not going to today because of the circumstances of Creighton getting healthier with Kalkbrenner and the 6 in a row. I hate saying they're due, but like that team is too good to play this poorly over and over and over again. So at some point, I think it's going to come out and they're going to show why people love them in the preseason, why they look so good in Maui. So I don't want to get in the way of that freight train today.
If Creighton were playing Holy Cross tonight, do you think Kalkbrenner would play?
No. Big East game. I think that's why he's in.
So again, this is one of the better bigs, Bates, in this conference. Bates a good player, man. I mean, really good player. This is a way better coach team. We saw Butler kind of hanging games. That's what they do. They're kind of just a scrappy, tough team. They'll obviously be up for this game, it being a conference game early. I don't know. For me, I agree with this take right here. I can't take them right now as an 8.5-point favorite. I just can't. Will I ultimately get there on this one? No. But you look at every game where they played let's just say top 100 team. Okay, they've either lost or the game was fairly close. Take out the Texas Tech game. We've kind of found out Texas Tech's got some issues as well. Butler's tough to me. They've always been tough. I think as long as have everyone, because remember, this is one of the I think they're 362nd in bench minutes. They don't have much. This is like a 7-man group.
They're healthier now because they got Ali and Jalen Thomas back. I think Ali had a concussion. Thomas had a pulmonary embolism before the season. Kind of scary stuff, but they're on the court, so at least they have more bodies. That's another reason, like, I don't want to step in on Creighton because Butler's also trending up. This is just like, for me, I total stay away. I want to see what happens because I want to get a sense for how Creighton looks because, like you said, I kind of want to back them on Christmas. I think they smoked DePaul, but we'll see how tonight goes.
These are two defenses that are very much kind of that. I wouldn't say are they no middle. They just want to operate in a half court defensively, right? It's going to be kind of a battle. You know what this screamed to me? This score. I thought this total was a little high too. I mean, I thought maybe this was like 70, 63 or something. Like I thought this was a little high because I think both are going to operate very much in the half court. Both very much want to get their bigs involved. We have a big that's not completely healthy. I think the other big kind of cancels them out. They're both good defenses in the half court. I don't know. These are the last two games. I thought numbers were a little high with the totals. I've had some good reads on unders this year, but a tough one. I think the line's probably good, but I think as the commenter said, I'm not running delay 8.5 right now with Creighton. I just don't think you can until you see some cohesiveness. So maybe you worry about them against DePaul instead of betting them tonight. Maybe see what they have first. Here we go. This is an interesting one. Western Kentucky laying 2.5 against South Carolina, 130.5 on a total. Now, South Carolina's not been good. Okay, this team's going to struggle all year. New coach, a lot of new kids. They're not a great team to begin with. Haven't been a good team really in a while. However, Ken, I know you guys talk about this occasionally. I've talked about it too. I don't mean to curse, but I'm going to. I fucking hate betting West Kentucky as a favorite. I just do. I mean, they're a fucking disaster against the spread. I want to kind of outline what I mean by that. So, for instance, over their last 10 games, they're 8-2 straight up. Okay, good stuff, right? But they're 3-5 against the spread. A lot of those games they've been a favorite. And keep in mind, this is a team that lost to Louisville.
Yeah, that's bad. You can't lose to Louisville. That's horrific. Yeah. They were 7-point favorite in that game, and they lost outright.
Now, Jim, this is interesting, too. In the last 10 games as a favorite, West Kentucky is 7-3 straight up. So in the games they should win, they're generally winning. However, against the spread as a favorite, 3-7.
Yeah, they lack like the motivation and the killer instinct. They're super talented. So when they see somebody across the court from them, they're like, oh, this is a power conference team that we would look really good if we beat them. They play up, they stand up to that. But if they look over and they see South Carolina, who is a power conference team, but they're like Louisville, they're really bad. And I could see them looking past them and being like, it's a South Carolina. And if you don't come out with that intensity, you'll get beat like they did at Louisville. That's the worry.
To me, though, 2.5 ain't too bad here, if I'm being honest.
Unfortunately.
You just also look at South Carolina. Like, whenever I back a dog, as I've said to you and to everyone, there are certain things I look for, right? Can you make free throws? Can you hang in the game from the line? Can you maybe not turn it over, get yourself some extra possessions or hit some threes? They just don't do anything well. I mean, this team is 62.5% from the line. I mean, that's just ugly. The little things they just don't do. I'm going to come out and say it. I'm giving this fucking Stansbury I'm giving him one more chance. I'm playing West Kentucky here. However, I'm going to do this because I don't normally do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm laying 135. I'm playing the money line. I just don't want to get it. This game, there's something tells me this game will be 66-65 late or 70-69 late. I don't want to lay 3 points here. I just don't.
Yeah, you want to deal with them like you said, the free throw shooting, the late game stuff. They'll be up 4 and then just hand the ball to South Carolina, and South Carolina will cut it to 2, and you'll be going mad, pulling your hair out. I kind of buy that, throwing the money line there instead of just anything with points can get dicey with this team.
Because remember, let's say they're up. Let's say this game's 72-67 with 14 seconds to go. If I play the money line, I don't got to worry about some bullshit backdoor 3 killing me or some nonsense. So it makes it a little easier to me. God forbid, maybe even go to overtime, you feel a little bit. I just want to win. I don't want to have to worry about 2.5, 3 points, 4 points. I don't want to worry about it. Give me the money line. This is not something I normally do, but with this damn team, I'm doing it. I think they win the game. And then I don't have to worry about ATS stuff because I feel like I'm just jaded. I don't want to have to lay points with this team. Just win the game. That's all I care about. They're good straight up. I'm going to play that here. I will say, if you have not watched West Kentucky, I urge you to do it. Jamarian Sharp is a fascinating player. You just put him in the middle and say, stand here and do your thing. I wish
he's
he played
7'6". It helps. It helps to have a guy that's that huge.
It's fun seeing that. You don't see that often in college basketball. Last player we saw was Taco Fall many years ago. Yep. So this one I'm on. I'm playing Western Kentucky money line. Just win Stansbury one damn time. Let's get to a big one here. You talked about it earlier. Your alma mater, the Missouri Tigers, are facing the Illinois Fighting Illini. Now, this is something to keep an eye on, folks. We continue this stupid nonsense where we're doing neutral court. This is St. Louis. Kind of in the middle for these teams. I think they'll both be represented here. We've seen Illinois just kind of have the potion in these neutral site games. They've been very good in these roles. Look, I know they lost to Penn State. Okay. I know they've had some games this year, i.e. Virginia, where they didn't look great. I still think this is one of the better teams in the Big Ten. I just do. And sorry, Jim, I'm going to say it. Missouri's a fraud to me. Sorry. I don't think they're that good. I think against good teams, we kind of saw what they were. They ran into a good team and got boat raced. We also saw them. Look, I think UCF's a pretty solid team. Nice win there. Remember, it was on a half-court buzzer beater. Could have went either way. I don't want to fade Illinois in these kind of spots. I think they're really good in these kind of games. I think they're kind of a paper tiger, Missouri, a little bit. I don't know if Dennis Gates. I think these numbers are just kind of a bit fraudulent. I mean, are they truly the number 2 effective field goal team in America? Well, no, because when you look at this strength of schedule, guys, listen, overall, Jim, 348th. And that's like bottom 15 in America. They just haven't played anybody.
Yep.
I'm looking to lay in the number here.
I fear this game. This Missouri team is better than last year, but last year's team got boat raced by Kansas, got boat raced by Illinois, motivated rival favorite, wants to just tear them limb from limb. Kansas did it to this team this year. Stylistically, the way they play, up and down, no big. They can't rebound defensively. They really rely on you to turn the ball over, and good teams do that less. Illinois is prone to turning it over, but they'll do it less than some of the cupcakes that Mizzou got big wins against. I fear this game, unfortunately. As I'm going to go into it excited for the Tigers, I probably will bet the over because I think it'll be up and down. I'm not gonna say Mizzou's going to win. They'll probably lose by 15.
I will say, though, and I'm going to throw out the however, I don't bet on teams that shoot under 70% from the line, especially ones that are laying points. This could come down to Illinois going 13 for 25 from free throw line, and they win by 4 or 5. This stuff you cannot bet into. You can't. You will lose. You will have issues. I want to look at something here. You probably don't have this in front of you, but I want to see what Illinois' ATS spread record is. Illinois 6-5 against the spread, so kind of flipped. I got to wonder if they were a little bit better from the free throw line, they'd probably be 8-3. I just can't bet on this kind of stuff. It's not something I'm interested in. Do I think Illinois probably gets the job done here? Yes. And free throws won't matter if they're up 22 late, so who cares? But it's just not something I want to bet into.
Yeah. One thing we did discuss was Illinois team total. I think it's like 80.5. Missouri's defense is really bad. They press, and you can get layups and open threes behind them. Like the stretch Kansas had where it was like layup or open three, no turnovers for 7 straight minutes. That's the concern. Like 80 doesn't seem that high against the defense.
Do you have any issues with some of the off-court things with the Shannon and Meyer, and Underwood?
That was weird.
Yeah, it was.
They had won the game. I mean, I know they had the Penn State thing, but Meyer had just played really well, and he comes into the presser and is like, "Yeah, we have some disagreements with the coaching staff." It's like, okay, and Shannon kind of like, I think he tried to bury it. He's like, oh, we'll figure it out internally and we'll be okay. And maybe they're going to be fine, and maybe they bury it for a rivalry game. But clearly it was evident against Alabama A&M that they were asleep in that game. They played horrible, and we'll see if they're awake today. I don't put too much credence in it. I'm sure they've sorted it out since then.
I mean, it was Saturday. It is important to remember they did win by 21. Listen, they didn't cover. They only scored 68 points, but they only give up 47, which is what you want to do against those types of SWAC teams. And remember, it was almost a week ago. I'd have to think Underwood got him in the office. They had a team meeting, and they moved on. That's what good teams generally do. So I lean Illinois here, but I can't get involved with the free throw stuff. I just can't. I want to talk about this one because I want to see how you approach this game. Do you just kind of say Arizona, like with Purdue, do you just kind of say they're going to get to 95 here?
Probably.
You also have to worry again. I got to see here. I think this is their final. Yeah, this is their final game before Christmas. This is the final game before Pac-12 play. After this game, they won't play again until New Year's Eve, 9 days away. Is this one of those just, we're going to go through the motions here? Listen, they should roll the ball out and score 95 against Morgan State. Morgan State is hideous on both sides of the basketball. Do you kind of just bet over here? I feel like Morgan State could get to 65, 70, can't they?
Yeah, and Morgan State likes to run.
It's from three.
Yeah, it's one of those odd ones where like they haven't played in 12 days. Their last game was December 10th, but they're going across the country for one game, and then they're back at Hartford after Christmas. Like, why does Morgan State care about this game? If they get down, this could be a good live betting game where if they get down early, you back the favorite and take even a higher number. But if Morgan State's in it, clearly, then I think they hang around all game. So this is one I'm not touching pre-flop, unfortunately. But I do think if you can get a read on this one early and just kind of figure out, does Arizona seem engaged? Do they seem like they want to win by 40 because they can, they want to, then maybe you could live bet it.
I mean, this also is a simple case of you have two bigs that should just do whatever they want in this game. I mean, that's kind of the truth. And, in the end, I mean, Morgan State in one game this year, kind of similar competition, 96-73 against Xavier. I feel like Morgan State, they can make some threes. Maybe in the second unit comes in, you can grab some boards and get some layups, maybe get to 70 here and find this game over the number. Kind of screams to me like 98, 70 or something.
Track meet.
I feel like I could see it. I feel like it kind of finds its way over to me. All right, let's do a couple of questions here, and then we'll get Jim out of here. If you have any questions, send them in now. If we didn't answer your question, we probably already talked about it. Someone says Butler is one of the strong home environments in the country. Yeah, but this is in Creighton, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Omaha.
So that doesn't really matter here. Breezy Freeze says, I wish I could take a parlay of South Carolina, Louisville, and Cal to lose every conference game. Well, you can. I mean, who said you can't, bro?
You can roll it over. You bet the other money line every game and just roll over your money. So that's the way you do it.
Mm-hmm. We saw what Purdue was without Edey. Well, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I think if Edey played last night, and this is why I didn't buy out of that game. I only thought we'd see Edey like 20 minutes. I didn't think we'd really see him much anyway. They ended up scoring 80. What did they score last night? 74. Would they have even gotten to the team total with Edey? I don't know. That's a good question. Any thoughts on Kent State tonight? So interesting spot for Kent State because they played last night in El Paso against New Mexico State. I mentioned I liked Kent. This is one of the best ATS teams in America. I'm telling you right now, Kent State is going to win a game in the NCAA tournament if they get there. I love this team. I'm big into Malik Jacobs. Sincere Carey's terrific. I know UTEP, they may be without one of their key guys.
Mario McKinney.
Yeah, and I look at Kent and I say, I mean, is UTEP much different from New Mexico State, schematic-wise? I don't really think they are. I just think, to me, what would I rather see here? What do I think I see here? I more or less see double digits than a UTEP win, but this number keeps coming down a little bit. Kind of interesting. I have a little play here on 6.5. I can't lie. I like Kent State. I trust them in these spots. Any thoughts?
I lean towards UTEP, but I'm nervous about it because Kent State is fantastic. They're like they're not quite mid-major Houston, but like their first halves are always a pretty good bet. They come out really locked and loaded. They've got a conference player of the year point guard, and then they're pretty big inside. They're not going to get pushed around. But I've been high on UTEP or higher than the market all season, and the guy that's out, McKinney, doesn't really bother me. He's a former Mizzou guy that is really erratic, kind of up and down, and they played better without him yesterday, quite frankly. So lean towards UTEP, but I don't give much for home since Kent State played there yesterday. So I'm nothing super strong on that one for me.
This is a pretty good question here. What is Jim's favorite Missouri basketball player of all time?
I said Marcus Denman in the chat. I think he was there while I was there. He was really good. He led some huge wins. The last home KU win, Marcus Denman was super clutch in that game. I was a senior in college, so very strong memories associated with his tenure there. There's a couple, like JT Taylor helped him go to the Elite Eight when I was a freshman. Big fan of his. Damari Carroll, the Junkyard Dog, had probably the best pro career of
I'll give you a
those
good
guys. Oh, you got one?
Kareem Rush.
So I didn't grow up a Mizzou fan. That's my problem. So some of the like further back guys I don't have as strong of a love for, but Rush was awesome.
I also remember he played for the Lakers in the early 2000s. So I think he played for the Bobcats too at one point, but yeah, they've had some good players recently. Kim English, Phil Pressey, Tillman. They've had some good kids recently there. Remember that team lost to who was it? Norfolk State?
Oh, I remember. That was my senior year.
No, really? Was it? Wow.
Yeah, I like can't watch games in that bar in Columbia anymore because I was like I just associate it with that loss.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. Did you guys touch on Seattle, Utah State? Look, I like Seattle, man. This is a lot of points, getting 10 here. Cameron Tyson, best scorer in the country. But Utah State is just a bunch of good shooters a lot of the time, and just that's not an easy place to go play ever.
No, yeah. Well, this is in Hawaii. This is
that's right.
The Diamond Head. Utah State's coming off that weird loss to Weber State. Maybe they're angry, but like it's about if they make threes. Like if they go 13 for 26 from three, you're going to lose. If they don't make as many and see a little bit more regression, then you got a real good chance. And Seattle's long and can kind of match up with them. So I took a little bit of +10 on Seattle on that game.
I will say, I think the best basketball player that ever played in the NBA from Missouri was, someone mentioned it, Jordan Clarkson, right? I mean, NBA-wise.
Yeah, like Anthony Peeler wasn't that good, right? He probably doesn't quite get up there. Linus Kleiza had a little run.
Kareem Rush, again, had a couple of years in the NBA. Yeah, I don't know many others, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the best Mizzou athletes, Max Scherzer in baseball. That's basketball hasn't produced any all-timers.
Do you think NBA players who didn't go to college like LeBron at 40 should be able to play at Duke? What?
I'm in it for the chaos. I love it. I like the idea.
Yeah. Dude, you've smoked way too much today. Put it down, bro. Michael Porter, I mean, he wasn't really there very long. I guess. Did he even play like more than 5 games? I don't think he did.
Yeah. I went back for his debut season opener and he hurt his back like a minute into the game. Like,
I remember coming out of Seattle where he went to high school. He was the guy. He was number one.
Yeah.
And we didn't see him much.
Damari Carroll's cool. If he stays healthy in the pros, he's got a chance to be like probably the best Mizzou guy.
Oh, sure. I've said before, though, he's the worst defender I've ever seen at the NBA level. Like, seriously, he's horrible.
He's got a lot of Jabari Parker. They don't pay me to play defense energy.
No. And that was why I loved backing Denver for a long time, because they had like these guys that just, when they were out of the lineup, like Gary Harris, they just couldn't stop anybody.
Yep.
All right, one more quick, and then we'll get your quick one or two others if you like anything. Any thoughts on North Texas UTSA? Anytime North Texas plays, I like the under. UTSA is a long, far cry away from Jordan Ivy Curry and Javon. Didn't Jordan Ivy Curry go over there?
Oh yeah. Javon Jackson, Keith Wallace, that big time duo. Yeah.
You're never gonna have tell you about the over in North Texas games.
Yeah, I'm looking back at it last year. 69-45 was one of the games. 59-48. Like North Texas slows everybody down.
Yep. Ugly games. Linus Kleiza. Yeah, that's right. He did go to Missouri. That's a good one. Jim, any other games you had an interest in or a thought on that they wanted to bring up?
I'm always ready to fade Louisville, especially with an offense that's good. So I think NC State kind of wipes them out. A big number, but like it could be bigger. Louisville's really bad when they play good competition.
To me and Marty Mush, we actually loved Lipscomb the other night against Louisville. By the way, 2 straight games I bet Lipscomb. I had them against Michigan. One of the best bets I've made all year. I was really proud of that one. I've had Lipscomb against Notre Dame, Michigan, and Louisville, and they've hit all of them. Aganevich,
really well coached team, good squad.
He's a good player, that kid.
Yeah.
One more, Jim, wanted to ask you about. I think West Virginia is really good.
Yes.
And I think Stony Brook will have 25 turnovers tonight, probably. They blew up Penn, who doesn't see a press much. Stony Brook don't see many presses either.
As I went through the games yesterday, handicapping, I hadn't seen a line for this game yet. I just wrote, can't bet Stony Brook. Doesn't matter. Their point guard, Aaron Clark, who had just returned, is back out. I think we see something similar to the season opener where Stony Brook lost 81-45 to Florida. Yeah. Only it could be even more points. It could be 90-50. I
thought about this game because Kelly in Vegas hit me up and she mentioned to me that she liked maybe Stony Brook and one of those kind of sandwich spots for West Virginia. K-State had one the other night. She liked Radford, and it was a good call by her.
Radford's a really good underdog, though. Stony's not.
Yeah, no, Stony Brook just stinks, right? Jim Root, good to see you as always. By the way, shout out to Bryant. Nice win today against Towson. That was a nice win.
Oh, yeah.
Good
Your
game
Bulldogs.
Defensively for them.
I know you love the Bulldogs.
I do. Yes. I love, by the way, I love the slap by Doug Edert. Baller type thing to do there. All right, Jim, good to see you. A Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you for coming on. I'm sure we'll catch you in the new year or at some point very soon. Check out Jim at 2ND Chance Points, Second Chance Points on Twitter. Check out the 3-Man Weave. They're moving around all sorts of places. Have a great show on Field of 68. These are good dudes and some of the best in the business. Have a good holiday, Jim Root.
Thank you. You too. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to the chat. Enjoy.
Yep. See you later. Good seeing you. Jim Root joining us here today. Guys, before I go, I wanted to quickly throw out, I have bet the Air Force Falcons tonight. I got 4. 3.5, I think, is fine as well. I don't mention trends very often. It's not something I'm interested in as a gambler. I don't really care much. There are trends, though, that I do care about, and those are bowl trends. Those are generally true as well with military schools. Over the last 30 games involving the Air Force, Navy, and Army in bowl games, the 3 teams are 21-9 combined against the spread. They're very good in these roles. And I've always said there are 2 things I want when I'm dealing with Air Force. Are they playing a team that can't stop the run? Yes. Baylor can't stop the run. I believe they're 100th in run success on defense. They don't get stops on the ground. They also are wanting to run the ball pretty effectively, and Air Force stops the run at a very high level. To me, I just really like Air Force. I think they're a tough team to prepare for. It's never easy to play a triple option. You also throw in the fact that there are some weather conditions in this one. I think you're going to have winds and upwards of 30 miles an hour in this game. Obviously, that very much helps Air Force. I love the fact that Air Force just finishes drives. They score touchdowns. They're a group that you don't have to worry about not scoring a touchdown. Generally, they're going to find a way to get 6, which is huge in college football. I'll admit, one of the only losers I've had in the Bowls was last night. I liked South Alabama, and they got boat raced. To me, though, I'm sticking with what I like and what I know. I like Air Force. I think they get the job done here tonight. And as a dog, I'm in here. So that's what I'm rocking in that bowl game tonight. You're welcome to tail or fade, whatever you want to do. Let me wrap up with a couple of questions here. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. It's the Armed Forces Bowl. How can you not take Air Force? Yes, like I said, they're always very good in this role. So, for me, these are just standard bets for me. So yeah, you guys have a great evening. I hope. Well, here's what I would do. Okay, I think it's Air Force money line, to be honest. You could just grab the 3.5 and parlay with a big money line and get a plus money price instead of having to land $1.10 or $1.15. But yeah, I played plus 3.5. I'm on that here. Or sorry, plus 4. I got it earlier a couple days ago. All right, I'm out. You guys have a great evening. Thank you for being here as always. I hope you have a good evening. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, Friday, last day of the week. Matter of fact, am I going to be here tomorrow? Let me take a look. If there's not any games, there's only 4 games. I'm not going to be here tomorrow, actually. There's really no reason. Okay, there are 3 games on the card. I think there maybe are a few added because of games in tournaments or whatever, but we're not going to be here. Barstool's closed. I was going to come on here if we had games to talk about, but I don't know. Maybe I'll come on for 10, 15 minutes, do a Q&A or something. I don't know. But I don't know if there's really a worth in it. I want to. If there were games, I had no problem doing it. But there's just not a ton going on. So we'll figure it out tomorrow. You guys all have a great evening. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time here on Big Man on Basketball. Later.